Hello, everybody. This is. Let me try that again. My bar mitzvah voice was cracking there. Hello, everybody. This is Joshua Hatton with One Nation Under Whiskey podcast and a sort of an industry news episode here. I'm joined, as always, with my good friend and business partner, the dear Jason Neal, Patrick Harris, Johnston Yellen, and this is a focus, sort of a follow-up episode on your interview with the lovely Caitlin Bartlemay, master distiller for Hood River, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And to be talking about something other than industry news, to be putting our nose and our palates to work on some very fun spirits,
Yeah.
that's an industry episode I can get behind.
Man, the number of stories people have been throwing our way that they want us to discuss.
Seek help.
We will get to those stories, and dear listeners, we promise you we will, but we needed to take a break. And Jason, you've been traveling. I've been
Covering
traveling.
one industry story every month is too much. Slow down. Calm your jets.
We just wanted to drink together, right? Like, let's just fucking drink together.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Before we get started, a big thank you to Caitlin, not only for her time in our last episode, which if you haven't heard it, hit pause, go back and listen to it. Caitlin is brilliant. And she is the person who sent us these samples. And that was at the end of 2024. So just like the listeners are patiently waiting for us to get back to industry news, Caitlin has been patiently waiting for her opinions on the McCarthy samples that she sent our way. So here we are, making at least one person happy today. Sincere thanks to Caitlin, and cheers to your good health.
So about those samples that she sent in 2024. So I come home one day and I've got a box sitting just at the bottom of the stairs, and it says, the return address on it says Caitlin Bartlemay, a name I hadn't known. And
mine didn't have a name on it.
Oh, yours didn't have a name. Okay, well, mine had a name, or maybe it just said like Caitlin B or whatever. I didn't recognize the name, and I opened it up, and lo and behold, there's 3 bottles of McCarthy's in there, and I said, I don't remember ordering 3 bottles of McCarthy's.
But it's not impossible.
But it's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible, right?
Not impossible.
Yeah, I had a friend who drank too much and ordered 16 swords on QVC one time, right? Nothing's impossible. So okay, I don't know that name. I don't think I ordered these. I'm not expecting samples, and I just let it sit. And a month passed by, and then I think another month passed by, and then I finally asked you. I said, did you happen to receive a box of McCarthy's? And you said, oh yeah, I meant to tell you, Caitlin Bartlemay of Hood River Distillers was going to send you samples. And I said, oh well, she sent me full bottles.
So here's why there was a delay.
Yeah.
So when I got my box, completely unexpected, with no name on it, I opened it up and saw McCarthy's and thought our very good friend at Westland, Anna Hinz, had gone ahead and sent McCarthy's, because she and I had been talking about McCarthy's, had been talking about Caitlin, and I thought they'd come in from Anna. And I checked with Anna, hey, did you send these? And she said, no, but I had talked to Caitlin about her sending you some. And I exact same response as you. I was like, when I opened them, I thought, I might have ordered these. It's possible. So yes, the mystery was cleared. We made contact with Caitlin. She let me know she'd sent me a set. And I said, oh, thank you so much for the bottles. I'll break them down and send half to Joshua. And that's when she said, oh no, I sent Joshua a set. That's when I reached out to you and was like, do you have McCarthy's samples? So perfect how the world comes together.
Right.
The universe sorts us out. And so with the 3 full-size bottles that you've already made reference to,
Hmm.
in anticipation of interviewing Caitlin, I talked to her about getting our hands on some new make spirit.
Right.
And originally there was some talk about Caitlin and myself having some spirit while I was interviewing her.
Hmm.
The day went in a different direction. It didn't work out that way. She took the little sample she traveled with back to Portland and then sent it out to me here in Virginia. I
Oh.
broke down that little sample, sent it to you, and it is McCarthy's, aged less than 1 year.
Ah.
At the time of the ACSA, the American Craft Spirits Association conference in Tucson, Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, to give it its Sunday name, they didn't have new make on hand. So
Yeah. Yep.
that's why this less than 1 year got involved. And to me, this is a younger version of Kilchoman Anticipation. It's this
Mm.
lovely, delicate, inviting, peated
Hmm.
spirit, but from Oregon, distilled pot stills.
Hmm.
This is Scottish barley. It
Yeah.
has been peated in Scotland. It's been malted in Scotland. That's then come over to Oregon.
And
Oh,
then matured in Oregon oak, like basically
indeed.
Gariana oak, right?
Yeah, that was the surprise in talking to Caitlin as much as I did.
Mm.
Yeah, that Gariana being used, and now they're into second use and refill use
Yeah, right.
around the distillery
Right.
as well, and having a chance to tell other stories. But what do you think on the new make?
Right. So, what I love about this, it's banana coming through. When I think of new make, especially Scottish new make, it's mostly pear for me, and in this case, it's banana. And when I think of banana coming through, quite often that's a yeast-driven note,
Mhm, mhm,
and which surprised me. And I
mhm.
wonder if that's the Gary Oak kind of massaging the new make a little bit. It's really pleasant on the nose. What are you getting on the palate?
Palate comes in quite vegetal, little
Okay.
minerality to it.
Okay. All right.
But again, as we've talked about endlessly for our lives in whiskey, this is Highland peat rather than Isla peat. So
I
there's
was
a
gonna ask that. Yeah.
very nice wood smoke happening there.
Oh, but there's a salinity, like a sharp salinity coming through on that. Like
Yeah.
not sharp in a bad way, but like, you know.
I You and I have discussed this. I think there are times you use sharp where I would use bright. Do you remember us having that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
conversation
Yes.
before?
Yep. 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 Yeah.
Because
Bright.
for
Yeah.
me,
Thank you.
sharp can be jarring,
Mm.
whereas bright can be enveloping.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's better said. Yeah, because I didn't mean it in a pejorative
No, no,
manner,
and
like,
that's why I
right?
wanted to step
Yeah,
in just to make
yeah,
that clear.
yeah, yeah.
After tasting, returning to the palate, I get a little kind of custard note, um, like the custard you find in the heart of a Boston cream.
Mhm. Do we
The
know the
Boston cream
ABV
still
on
to
this?
be clear. So McCarthy's at 110-ish. So, my guess is 110 would be entry proof.
Man, you're making me do math. Give me some ABVs. Is that
55.
55% alcohol? Okay, thank you. Jason,
Yeah,
you've been in
110 is the
America
easy one.
too long. You've been in
110,
America
well,
too long.
I'm just reading what Caitlin put on this little sample label. She said 110-ish, so that's what I'm reading for you. That's incredibly quaffable. That is very good new
Yeah.
make. And the reason Josh and I had this conversation in our little pre-production meeting,
Oh.
um, the 3 minutes we're like, what the hell are we gonna do? So
Mhm.
we wanted to use the new make to frame the spirit from the distillery,
Right,
to
right.
then go into the 3 offerings from the distillery
Mhm,
and be able to say, here's where I get that spirit character.
mhm,
Here's where I get that Gary
mhm,
character. Later on, we're going to have a PX finished release.
mhm.
Okay, here's what PX is doing in relation to the spirit. So,
Right.
we've been very fortunate for a long time. We've had access to new make. We've had access to young spirit. Again, you were talking about trips around Scotland where you get pears or ripe apricots. Here
Mhm.
we're getting banana, but it's so informative to know what spirit is doing when you
Right.
then move through mature offerings from a distillery.
Right. It's you know, it's sort of the same thing when we're doing whiskey seminars and we sort of take people through the tasting process, and you tell people to nose a whiskey a certain way just to familiarize yourself with what you're about to taste. And it's the same thing.
Exactly.
You want to familiarize yourself with the spirit, and that's exactly what we're doing. So,
Yeah, I'm going to keep
all
liquid
right.
in my less than 1 year old spirit glass,
Same.
but I'm
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm moving into the
All right.
McCarthy's. I would call it the initial offering in their release lineup,
Okay.
uh, and this has an ABV on it, Joshua.
Thank you. Thank
This
you.
is 42.5% alcohol. For those listening, 85 proof on the label.
Yeah. That's an interesting ABV, 42.5.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, for Steve McCarthy, the origin story features a trip to Ireland. It features tasting through
Ah,
samples in
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ireland.
Okay.
It's then coming home and thinking, could I do something like this
Yeah.
in Oregon?
Yeah.
Um, and I think his trip was late 90s, if I'm
Yeah, that
remembering
there
right.
you go.
Uh,
Right? Because this
that's
is an
right.
old distillery, right? They've been doing this for years and years and years,
Decades, man,
right?
decades.
Decades.
Yeah. Well, and that's and I
Oh,
said this to Caitlin early and often. This is my origin story with McCarthy's. Was it was named the best small batch whiskey in the world uh, by a well known whiskey writer who rewrote the Bible, and and I was in and around Portland at that time. I was able in that kind of 2004 era. I was able to go by the distillery. I was able to walk in off the street and meet Steve and
mhm.
chat away to him and talk to him about his trip to Ireland and what he was trying to produce in homage in Oregon.
Wow.
And just to be clear, the batch we are tasting here is W24-02, bottled. The Let me think about my American nomenclature because I've been working on UK dates all morning. This is the 12th month. So this is December 9, 2024. Oh my
All right.
gosh.
Ooh,
This
that's
was this was in a bottle and off to us. Holy moly.
there you go. That's three days after my birthday,
There
mind
you
you,
go.
dear
There you
listener,
go.
dear Jason.
Yeah. So
The
this is 12
nose,
9 24. That's the 12th month, right?
correct. Yeah. The nose on this is and it says right on it, right? Bottled 12/9/24. You didn't even have to.
This is what I'm telling you.
Yeah, okay, okay, good. Yeah, I thought you were going through some hard work.
Well, the point I was making is I've been working on UK dates all day. So those are
Oh,
reversed.
so you had to inversed. There you
Right.
go.
So this is so in my mind all morning I've been going the 12th day of the
The
ninth month,
ninth month.
24. And so now I gotta go back to America and be like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah,
month first. Anyway, we're belaboring the point here.
yeah, yeah. What is this whiskey in Celsius, Jason?
Hot, hot, hot. Um, yeah, 100%. This is from the label 100% peat malted Scottish barley, barrel aged in Oregon oak, distilled and bottled by Clear Creek Distillery, Hood River, Oregon, USA, 42.5% alcohol by volume. And for those scoring at home, I can let you know it's barrel aged 3 years. It doesn't say three on the front label. The barrel aged 3 years is on the back label. And then they give a nod, a tip of the cap. Wash brewed by Double Mountain Brewery and Taproom, Hood River, Oregon.
Right. So those who aren't familiar with that term, right? The wash is basically the beer, right? The what you distill to then mature to be whiskey. So,
Yeah, to get
um,
sugary water from
right,
the barley.
right. Um, the nose on this is gorgeous. And you're saying this is 3 years old?
Mhm.
When I nose this, I would never, never, never have pegged this as a 3-year-old whiskey on the nose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got a
Oh,
complexity and a maturity on the nose that you don't expect. It's also a place, strength-wise, that we don't tend to go to, although I will say this, and more of my travels, I'm meeting more and
yeah.
more whiskey nerds,
Mhm.
who are saying, "You know, I don't mind a quiet little 43 percenter."
Mhm.
Like, I quite like that. And so
Yeah,
here we are, right? 42 and a half.
right. So long as it's so long as it hasn't been chill filtered within an inch of its life, right?
Agreed wholeheartedly.
Right.
Just got toasted coconut returning to the nose.
Uh, on
On
on the
the
McCarthy's
McCarthy's, yeah, on
3-year-old,
the
right? Yeah,
McCarthy's.
okay.
There you go.
Not the okay.
No.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, but there's this underlying fruitiness and a waxy sort of right? We talk about nasal texture on this. There is a nasal texture on this for our uber geeky listeners out there.
I'm very pleased to say when I was just in the Pacific Northwest, I got to spend time with Shane Showtime Armstrong, and he and I had a chance to talk about nose texture.
Hot shit. This is excellent. The peat
Ooh.
is almost peppery, like almost like a Talisker kind of peppery peat
Oh,
to it.
okay. Oh, so just pause for 1 second. So as I
Pause.
went back to the new make, I was just starting to think cayenne as you were starting to say, "Oh, this 3-year-old is bringing pepper."
Pepper. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Which is a note that I often get in like the older Talisker 10s, that sort of cayenne kind of thing going on. So there
How
you
we
go.
miss.
Yeah. Oh man.
And then
Yeah.
in returning to the
Mhm.
3-year-old, I get that little bit of banana you were talking about in the new make or in the young spirit.
So I I just opened this bottle today.
Are you tasting a neck pour right now?
I'm tasting yes.
Or did
Neck
you turn
pour.
your bottle upside down before you opened it and poured it?
Yeah, so basically it's a heel pour, I guess. Um, but I say this because it's sort of a shame on me moment because I could have been drinking this for a long time now.
Mhm.
This is quaffable. This is something I would reach for on any given day. This is
Yep.
excellent whiskey, right?
I'm very proud to say I've been
Yeah.
telling people about this for 2 decades.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so the fact
But
that
you know
they're
I never listened to you. You told me you have been telling me about this.
do I ever, do I ever. Although I think you're gonna listen to me when I say, "Move on to the next sample."
Okay. All right. On to the next one. So this
Do you
is
give
go
details? Yeah,
ahead.
I give details on the first one.
Yeah, okay. So this one is and I'm just gonna put it for the camera here. All right. For the I know some people are listening. We may be posting some of this onto the YouTubes.
Well, if this does make it on
Oh,
film.
look at the color on that, right? For people who
Also,
enjoy colors.
hat and pour for those watching on
That is a
video.
hat and pour, heavy-handed hat and pour. So this is they're 6 years old and it puts it right on the front label here. 100% peat malted Scottish barley, barrel aged in Oregon oak, uh, 50% alcohol, 100 proof for people who like proof. Batch number MC6, or maybe it's MI6. Ooh, MI6.
Mine's definitely a C.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's secretive if it's MI6.
Yeah,
24
missing.
dash. Also bottled on December 9,
Look at that.
2024.
Gosh, thank you so much, Caitlin. Taking them straight off, hot off the line, into a box. No return address, and off to Virginia and Connecticut. I like that. I like her style. And then just for those listening along, no age statement on the front label of the 3-year-old, 6-year age statement on the front label of the 6-year-old.
Are you drinking the right one? Are you perhaps reaching for the third one? Because mine is a little lighter than yours, Jason.
Bonk. I made a
Yep.
switch of the bottles without making a switch
There
of the
you go.
samples.
There you
Good
go.
eye. Well done.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yep.
sir.
Thank you. See, I'm the one who's not colorblind. So
There's a joke in there somewhere. Ah,
Okay. All right. So I mean, yes, there's definitely a color difference between the 3-year-old and the 6-year-old. And I don't know if we're dealing with A, just a difference in more time in oak, or B, a difference in, first use wood, second use, refill oak.
Oh, yeah, that has me reaching for the new make again, right? We're into 6 years
Mhm.
here. Oh yeah, oh my gosh, that becomes a warmer banana on the young spirit
Oh,
as we move through the line. Even a little bit of cinnamon coming in along with that, the beginnings of that cayenne. Oh,
yeah, but now like the cereal comes through, that sort of damp barley,
agreed. Yep,
right?
agreed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. And we're talking, just to be clear, listeners, we're talking, going back to that almost new make spirit, that less than year old spirit. We're just returning to that to try to find that connective tissue.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I think that wood is I think that wood is starting to, come to the fore more in the 6-year-old
Hmm.
as a framing device.
So you don't think it's getting in the way? You think it's
No,
framing
not
the
in the
spirit?
slightest.
Yeah.
Not in
Okay.
the slightest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm, man, and this at 50%, so we're moving up from the 42.5%.
Hmm.
I wanna put this on my palate and get a sense of the texture as well.
I love that. The peat. The peat is in the background for both the new make, or not new make, for the less than year old, and then for both of these whiskeys, the peat is in the background. It's not telling the story. It's just sort of, uh, you know, it's a side quest in the overall story here.
Holy shit, that
Yeah.
6-year-old comes
Yeah.
alive on the
Okay.
palate.
All right.
Oh my
All right.
gosh.
Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'll give you and the listeners a little um,
Mm.
preview of a topic of conversation that will come up in an episode in the future. But I just mentioned Shane Armstrong a second ago. So Shane is with Westland.
Hmm.
And in talking with Shane, in putting together batches, and we spent some time in his lab, he talks about acceleration of
Hmm.
whiskey.
Hmm.
And you can have a slow building nose that then when it hits the palate takes off on the palate.
Yeah.
And that is my exact experience with this McCarthy 6-year
Hmm.
old is the nose is starting to invite you in. It wants to tell you a story, but it's just giving you the beginning. And then once this hits the palate, this accelerates. And now you're in it. Now you're in the middle of that story.
Hmm.
Holy
Yeah.
moly.
No, I think your description is spot on.
Thanks to
Um,
Shane.
I will say
Gosh. Mhm.
for my palate, I would reach for the 3-year-old before I would reach for the 6-year-old.
I, I'm finding once I've had that acceleration on the palate and I return to the nose, now the nose is filling in more details.
For sure. Oh, yeah.
Now the wood is starting to tell a bigger story.
Yeah, at first, the nose on the 6-year-old, it was like it was candied, it was kind of
Mhm,
bright.
mhm,
There
mhm.
was it was there was a bit of a fruitiness, then you taste it, and then you come back, and now that sort of candied fruitiness throws in some of the barbecue notes that you expect from Garyana wood, right?
Barbecue is a
Yeah.
terrific nose on that
Yeah.
returning
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
a terrific note on that
Yeah. Yeah.
returning
Yeah.
nose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, barbecue,
Yeah.
Garyana connection.
Yeah.
That's good. Well done.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pro level. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Mm.
so I'm putting down the 6-year-old. I'm
Okay.
returning to the
Put
3-year-old.
down the 6-year-old, Jason. Put down the
Return
6-year-old.
returning to the 3-year-old.
Okay.
And
Alright.
now I'm getting a little bit of dust on that
Hmm.
3-year-old,
Oh, I know exactly what you mean, yeah.
right? That's like a dusty library book
Oh,
happening on the nose of the
100%.
3-year-old.
Oh, yeah, right? Oh, which is my comfort zone, like,
Mm.
one of my favorite notes is that used book note, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Which is great.
Palate still has the brightness. and at 42.5% alcohol, just hums along. Just
Yeah.
that's an easy drinker in the
Yeah.
best use of the term.
And the whiskey does not feel dumbed down in any
Not in the
way,
slightest, to be clear.
right?
Yep, not in the
Yeah.
slightest.
Good texture to it. And both of these whiskeys, really good texture to the liquid. I really like that.
Agreed. And now to
Mm.
complete my reverse journey, I've picked up the less than 1-year-old spirit.
All right. All right. Going back to, and you're going to sip it or are you just nosing?
Yeah,
We're
no,
sipping.
nose and sip.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
no dust on that. No library books on that
No, no,
young
no.
spirit.
No, the brightness really shines.
Right, the grain is present.
Yeah, but less damp cereal gets back to the fruit. Yeah, I
Mm.
quite like that.
And then on the palate, that's where you
Right.
start to move into the world where producers live and distillers live. You can taste the immaturity on the less than 1-year-old spirit. In
Mm,
working reverse, 6 years to 3 years to under 1 year,
mm,
you realize where the wood goes,
right.
where the frame goes around. I have this exact experience with Kilhoman. I
Mhm,
love anticipation. I love that 2-year-old quote
mhm.
unquote new make
Yeah,
that
yeah.
went out into the world. Love it very dearly.
Yeah.
When you
Yep.
taste that next to mature Kilhoman,
Mhm.
you go, ah, that's where the cask goes. Now I understand.
Yeah,
Now I
exactly.
see
Yeah,
why the distiller wants to put this into wood and leave it for X number of
of
years.
course. Right.
You see that.
Yep. Did
Speaking, yeah,
just really quickly, there's a note that I got on this less than 1-year-old that I hadn't gotten previously,
go on.
and it's fresh cut fennel
Nose or palate?
palate on the
Okay.
palate. Yeah,
Okay.
it
A little bit of
was
aniseed
a little
starting
bit
to
of aniseed, a
do it
little
for
bit
you?
I mean, it wasn't full on black licorice,
Yeah.
it
No,
was
no, 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 I
fresh
understand.
cut fennel, and
Lovely in
and
a salad. Lovely. A little
right?
bit of arugula,
Lovely in a salad, like, I think that's
watermelon
what I'm gonna make.
radish.
Oh,
Oh,
you've just described part of my dinner tonight,
there you go.
so there we
Little
go.
mustardy vinaigrette over the top of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, maybe some fresh toasted pepitas just on the top.
100%. And if
Yeah.
you're gonna be toasting pepitas, make some quinoa, toast some quinoa as well, sprinkle that over the top.
Oh my god, Jason, I'm almost there, keep talking.
Easy peasy. Dinner's done. So I was gonna say, just as we're talking about, that's where the cask goes.
Mhm.
Here we've got our third and final full-size bottle sample, which is the PX Sherry Cask Finished 6-year-old. Um, Again, the label clearly says barrel aged in Oregon oak, rare release, cask strength, bottle number. Here's one for you. What's your bottle number?
My bottle number is 1356.
Oh, I know who got put in the box first. I am 1355.
Someone likes someone a little better.
Bottled the September 8th, 2022, 56.13% alcohol, 112.2 proof.
I love the specificity. 5613. Oof.
So the only thing we don't have is the length of time it finished in Pedro Jimenez casks, but it is distilled from the peat and malted barley. And I stuck my nose in this previously when you were making your
Yeah.
comment about the
Yeah.
young spirit, and I just raised my arms to the
Yeah.
roof. Like that was,
Do we
oh,
know? So we know that it's Highland peat. Do we know the peating level?
I don't off the top of my head.
And I can't
Uh,
recall if Caitlin
yeah,
mentioned it in the podcast. I re-listened to
yeah,
to
yeah.
last week's episode, and sometimes details go in and out, and sometimes I
Mhm,
re-listen 3 times, and here we are. But
mm.
oh my gosh, Jason, the nose on that.
Right, right, right,
Oh,
right.
The PX shines. Wow.
Oh,
The PX
oh,
shines, but the spirit remains true. Like
yeah.
the connective tissue from bottle to bottle to bottle
Right,
is
100%.
McCarthy's.
Yep,
Wow.
yep. I've got results from
Mhm.
2014 and 2017 that talk about 40 ppm, but
Oh,
those have
interesting.
not been substantiated. Let's do what we did with our old friend Anna. Let's drop Caitlin a text while we're recording
Okay.
live and see
All
if
right.
she gets back in the time we're
Oh, there you
still
go.
recording. Um,
Caitlin, let's see if you're as fast as Anna Hins.
well, Anna is famous for how quickly she gets back over
Yep.
text.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
level on.
What sort of waiting music do we do? Do we do Jeopardy?
Well, I suggest we just continue chatting and and leave this door open for
Okay.
Caitlin to come back.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
um, yeah. PX to your very point, Joshua.
Yeah.
This really Caitlin got back.
Oh my gosh.
Uh, my question: ppm level on McCarthy's malt. Caitlin immediately responded 40 to 55.
Okay.
There
Makes
you
sense,
go.
right? Because peating is not an exact science at all, right?
Time finishing in
Oh,
PX.
now we're
And now I've
asking.
got,
Yeah.
yep, length of time finishing in PX. We've
Look at that.
let's see.
Okay. All right. And I love it. You're seeing the three dots, right? As she's sort of like about to answer. All right.
um, 4 to 6 months in this
Oh, wow.
fresh
So
PX.
I would not have
Color
guessed,
remarkable, nose remarkable.
right? Right. When you think of a finish, 4 to 6 months, quite often that sounds like a bolt on to the whiskey. But this smells integrated, right?
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Mhm.
And actually, Caitlin just added a follow-up point via text.
Mhm.
It's 4 to 6 months, or when the whiskey tells them it's ready,
There you go. Perfect.
right?
Perfect.
So you're not just regimented, you're not just finishing according to a
Yeah.
spreadsheet.
Yeah.
You've got your nose in a cask, you're pulling a
Mhm,
sample, you're
mhm,
tasting
mhm,
it, you're
mhm.
asking the cask,
Yep,
"Is this go time?" And the
yep,
cask is telling you whether it's go time or
yep,
not.
yep, yep.
Oh my
Hmm,
gosh.
man.
Okay. I keep saying it. The nose, the color, the texture.
Mhm,
Check, check, check.
yep,
And then, very much to your point, the spirit lives on in this
right.
finishing.
Which is always the fear with PX or just, any sort of cask that can really impose itself on the spirit. It's not overtaking the spirit in any way. All right, you're tasting now. I'm going to taste. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's a bold move to go from Gariana, Oregon Oak, to PX. And I think the 4 to 6 months listening to the cask
Mhm.
definitely hits its mark. That works.
I've got I've got two words for this whiskey. Word number one, fuck. All right.
Okay.
Second word, yes. Fuck and yes. Those are my words. This is remarkable whiskey.
Top notch. That really is top drawer.
Oh my gosh. It without it being as naughty, it reminds me of some of the earlier batches of Ardbeg Ugadal, right? Where you've got full on peat, full on sherry. The Gary oak is in there. You can tell it's there because it's got some of the barbecue going on, but it's full on, right? It tastes like a no holds barred whiskey, which I quite like.
I also like the fact that it gets to be a little unbridled at cask strength.
Mm-hmm.
So to the point we were making when we were comparing bottle numbers, when we're halfway through the 1300s,
Yep.
you know you've got a small combination of casks happening here.
Hmm. Hmm.
Maybe it's a couple, maybe they went as far as 3, who knows? Maybe it's 4. Um, oh, it's puckering as well.
Hmm.
It's definitely got my gums are drying out,
Yeah.
but there's a whole bunch of juiciness at the back of my palate.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And I
just to
think
be, go ahead.
and
Go
you
ahead.
and I have talked about this on Single Cast Nation selections. I've got drying down the outside of my tongue,
Yeah.
but I've got
Yeah.
juicy down the center of my tongue. So it's hitting my
100%.
palate
Yeah. Yeah.
in different places,
And that's the sort of like, that's what you want, right? You want the
right?
juiciness, and then you want that sort of drying quality to sort of bring you back for more.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and it's the complexity as well. And just to clarify my previous statement, I I'm not trying to say it tastes like Ugadal. I don't think it tastes anything like Ugadal. It's that impact that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
But see when you just quietly sip on it, you don't think about it, that's when the peat shows up. There's
Yeah,
peat
right.
to the back of the palate. There's
Mm,
peat in the finish. And it's very much, and I did like your Ugadal experience comparison.
mhm.
This has a little bit of being on a sandy beach in Scotland,
Yeah.
right? To the brininess that you talked about earlier. Like, how's their brininess getting into a
Mm,
Highland malt? I don't know. It's a question we've asked previously of other distillers. All I
mhm.
know is it's there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the barbecue that we keep returning to as a Garyana note. That's complete.
Mm,
That's
mhm.
telling a full story. So, so good. So good.
So
I've got
good.
the 6-year-old expression in my glass right now, and I'm holding that.
Okay. All right. So we're going in reverse now. All right.
Yeah.
Back we go.
There's
Mm.
a bit of the fruit, maybe some of the stone fruit showing up on the nose of the 6-year-old.
There's stone fruit, but there's also a touch of peanut brittle going on the nose, which I quite like.
Yep. And that taking a step back from 56.13 to 50%, there's a softening. There's
Mm.
a there's a calming down. Now I'm stepping into the 42.5% 3-year-old
Yeah.
expression.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Gosh, that seems calm by comparison to the PX Sherry. Oh, but
Oh,
so lovely.
my little dusty library book has become the sugar on a candy watch or a
Oh,
candy
candy
bracelet,
neck.
candy
Yeah.
necklace.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Is it
god,
the timepiece on the watch or just part of the
timepiece.
yes, the timepiece. There we go.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. Oh God, the nose on that just remains
Yeah,
so
it's
bright and beautiful.
strength-wise on the palate, it's an unfair comparison in the opposite direction. To go
Mm,
56 into 50 into 42.5 is
yeah.
not fair.
No.
Um,
No.
it wants oomph on it.
It weakens for sure. Yeah.
However, as a daily drinker, to be able to pour that 42.5 when you're making dinner, easy peasy. I'm gonna say something controversial.
Checks out.
I like to pull a little Fino from my fridge, pour a glass when I'm making dinner of an evening.
Mhm. Mhm.
I could pull this McCarthy's 3-year-old from my fridge, pour a glass of that,
Mhm.
and start enjoying that when I'm making dinner.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think that little bit of chill on it, the structure would hold up
Oh yeah.
to that.
Mhm.
Was that controversial? You've taken that very much in your stride.
No, I don't think it's controversial. I well, no. No, I can
Drink
I
it how
think
you enjoy it, right?
I think
That's the mantra.
I think earlier in our whiskey journeys, we
Mhm,
would have
mhm,
like that would have
mhm.
been like sacrilege, but
I would have
we've
felt like a
matured,
very naughty boy.
right? I do wonder, however,
Mhm.
chilled, because I don't think that this is chill filtered, because there's too much oil in here. It's
Yeah.
too enveloping. I wonder if that would cloud up on you.
I wondered the same thing actually, and I'm almost excited for that because a pheno will do its own little bit of clouding as well, and as it slowly returns to room temperature, it clarifies a bit.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
uh,
Did you? I'm going to go back to the less than a year
I did. I've finished my
liquid.
glass on that.
All right. All right.
It's also
As
the
we
one I
go.
did not do a hat and pour on.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. Yeah. All right. Back we go. The nose. This is lovely, lovely new make. Or again, not new make. It's lovely, lovely, less than a year old spirit.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, returns to the cayenne. Definitely has that fennel you talked about is moving towards a soft licorice place, but
Mhm.
not a heavy licorice place.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
I like
Soft
describing
chewing
that as a
licorice.
fennel.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it says on the label, Joshua, 42.5% small batch produced, non-chill
Non-chill
filtered.
filtered. Right there. All we have to do is read, Jason. That's all we
I
have to
tell
do.
you, once I got to the batch number and the bottle date, I was there. So, man, what an experience! Thanks to Caitlin for setting us up with
Huge
that.
thanks.
That
Yep.
was
Yep.
joyous.
Yep. Yep. We needed that. We needed that.
Right, right. Love the industry, love following the news. Much prefer tasting delicious samples sent to us by a friend in the Pacific Northwest.
One hundo.
Oh
So,
my gosh. Thank you.
so like you had said, huge thanks to Caitlin, and thanks to you, Jason, for your interview with her, for taking some time aside.
Oh, cheers. She was brilliant. Yeah, easy
Yeah.
to hang with, easy to chat to. Favorite episode.
Yep, and I enjoyed my time with her in Austin. I got to
Mhm.
speak with her, and she had, a business partner there also from Hood River. You know, you know me. I know faces. I forget names. Unfortunately, his name escapes me right now, but absolutely lovely gentleman. So it was great spending time with both of them in Austin at the Galaxy Gala. Um, Thanks as always to our listeners. If you've got any questions, you can send them over info@singlecastnation.com. If you would like to review this podcast on either Apple
Ooh,
Podcasts
la.
or Spotify, man, oh Manischewitz, would we thank you. 5-star review would be lovely. You can even leave comments. And if you leave a comment, we would even read it on the podcast. Um, is there anything else we should say, Jason, before we get out of here?
No, we need to get out of here, but I just stuck my nose back into the PX sherry cask finish
Mm.
and I just got a beautiful, warm, dark chocolate note that is so rewarding. So,
Mm.
yep, I will end my words here. I will say cheers to the listeners, cheers to you, cheers to Caitlin, and onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards. Cheers,
Excelsior!
everybody. Cheers.